Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Loomis, and I am with Tech for Learning. And today we're going to do a Wixie webinar specifically for DC Public Schools for teachers who work with students in grades 3, 4, and 5 in designated elementary schools. We're going to take a look at Wixie, its tools and features, as well as discuss integrated options for all grade levels and subjects about doing, again, we're looking to do something more meaningful with the technology. And more meaningful, I'm talking beyond bulleted list or beyond just click and drag or those drill and kill websites or games you might go to, but have the students creatively share what they know and do that, again, in a meaningful manner. All right, so you're welcome to have your Wixie account open and follow along. If not, just go ahead and watch. You're going to be fine either way, but there's definitely time for some exploration on your own if you'd like, so feel free to do so. First, when you log on to Wixie, you log on to the home page or the teacher dashboard. You, from your account, have the ability to see all of your students and to assign them activities. You can assign activities to individual students, to small groups, or to large group. I know we got a special educator here. She may actually go ahead and assign a specific template or activity to 4 students in one class and 4 students in a different class because those are the ones she pulls. Where our library media specialist will have access to not only, like for instance, some of you, if you're a classroom teacher, you may only have access to your students. Well, a media specialist would have access to every class in the building. They would assign the template to the entire class. Right? The wonderful thing about Wixie is first, it's accessible on all devices with internet connectivity. Laptop, desktops, Chromebooks, iPads, Kindle Fires. I mean, heck, you can get Wixie off your cell phone if you want by going and logging into Clever through the DCPS site. But you're not going to be very productive in a 2 or 3 inch screen. So we're still looking at like a 5 or 7 inch screen to do this. Not only can you access it from any device, but because it's cloud-based, it saves the work every 20 or 30 seconds all by itself. So it's an auto save with an auto Dropbox, meaning that your kids can work on the work. When they're done, they log out of Wixie. You as the teacher automatically see their work. And if the internet's lost in the middle of the lesson, it's not like the kids lose anything. They just lost the last few seconds of work. So it's really neat in the capacity, taking advantage of cloud technology. Right? There's also rubric making, and every single step-by-step direction for Wixie. How do you do this? How do you do that is covered under the training tab. I probably won't go into these 2 tabs in detail, but I just wanted to make you aware they were there. Now, because this view is unique to teachers, we're going to go ahead and see what the students do, and that's log into Wixie itself. So under this Wixie word here, I'm going to go ahead and click New or Create or Edit a Wixie project, which I think some of you have already done. The very first thing the students will see, or you will see when you log on, will probably be just a blank work page because you have no created file. But once you create something, you start to populate your My Projects. You can see anything I've ever done is saved here, or stuff that I borrowed from people because their student samples are just too cool. When you work with projects, they start off untitled, but you can modify them by renaming them, by selecting, just clicking on it once. Renaming, you can also duplicate and delete files. So this is kind of where you manage your files. Now this over here is important to know. The left side of the page is where you as the teacher see what you currently assigned students, but it's where your students see what they've been assigned for today. And you can date range how long an assignment is available for them to open up on the left-hand side. The moment they open up one of your templates, they get their own copy over here under My Projects. They no longer need the blank template. We get the occasional call from a teacher who says, my child loses their work and has to start over every day. And we're like, can you scroll down? And sometimes they scroll down, they find the student's work from yesterday. In fact, they see like Monday's work, Tuesday works, and Wednesday work. That's because every day when they come back to the project, they don't open up what they did the first day. They go open up this blank one again. So, you can limit the amount of time it's over there. So maybe it doesn't confuse the students, maybe for just a couple days. And if a child's absent for the week, then you can go ahead and assign that template just to that one child afterwards. So basically, the great thing is you're going to be able to customize and personalize templates to your students. The first thing they're going to see when they log on is a template to work on, if that's the way you've gone, or having them open up a blank project, which would be a new project here. That's pretty straightforward. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I think it was clear enough. If it wasn't, for those of you attending live here, feel free to ask any questions as I'm happy to address. So I created or clicked to the new project icon. I'm coming up to a blank page. I want to start off with the paint tool. Wixie's paint tool is nothing special compared to other programs. It's all very visual though, but I think, in my mind, a paint tool is a paint tool. There are 5 kind of drawing implements. Pencil, I should switch colors. I'm going to undo that. A crayon, which is great. It actually draws like a crayon to make a dark section with the crayon. You kind of go back and forth. There's a dark section. Here's a paintbrush. And a dry erase. Get a little soft edge. And there's even a 3D ball, which is nice for the symmetry activities, actually, with a 3D edge. I'm going to add a new page here, but when it comes to kind of designing work, it is pretty straightforward. I am going to do something because I'm a little type A, so I like to have something on my page. Fill buckets, fill bucket. And again, if you're in Wixie, feel free to paint something, or if you'd rather just watch, that's completely up to you. I want to go with a solid green first. I'm going to use a pencil tool, and again, don't think you're limited to 10 colors. There's a slider, basically, it gives you 20 shades in each direction. So I'm going to go ahead and do a tree trunk. I love the spray can tool. It's a very popular tool. It says spray where you spray these shapes, but always look for options. They're always over here on the panel on the right-hand side. I'm actually going to come down to plants. And listen, I don't care if it's snowing outside or not. And again, very visual. How big a leaf do I want to spray on it? So those look about right. So I'm just going to kind of click and drag, and I got a tree now full of leaves. Again, the tools are pretty straightforward. Nothing special, but for your students, instead of using the eraser tool, really have them get used to using the undo tool. The undo tool sets to a default to undo 50 times, so we go back 50 times. I am hesitant to use the start over tool. When you click start over, it'll prompt you. It'll undo all the changes. If a child is on a multi-page project, you can see I already got 2 pages working here. If they click start over, and then I'm sure they think about it carefully. Do I want to do it? Okay or cancel. If they press OK, not only does it erase this page, but it also erases page 1. So I'm not a big fan of the start over tool. There are rare exceptions I would use it. I like to stick with the undo tool for the students instead of the start over, where I'm going with that. All right. Now, so far, those in attendance have not included an art teacher. All right. Unless I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's an art teacher present. So regardless of what you teach, as much as you may love them drawing from scratch, you're not grading them on their drawings. As a result, I think you need to limit the amount of time they get to spend drawing and have them focus on sharing their content understanding. If they finish early, go back and use that as engagement or motivation. Yeah, you can go back and enhance it all you want. But when it comes to projects, our sticker, which is our clip art library, our sticker library, I clicked on library, and then stickers. And if you're still painting, if you're following along here, I'm very impressed, don't get me wrong, but transition out of the stickers. Don't get stuck just painting. When I click on the sticker library, there are over 4,500 existing images in here. All of them are K-8 instructional folders. You're going to just find a couple pictures of computers and mice and printers, but you're going to find animals from your different mammal groups on each continent to farm and pets. Obviously, that's a little bit more primary, but definitely when it comes to biomes, for instance, you got all the animals here. Other folders which are super cool. I love, for instance, the family faces, or no, the cartoons. Sorry, slow mind all of a sudden. Under cartoon, there's this body face where you can put eyes and mouths and eyebrows on anything. For instance, I say, don't tell me about a planet. Interview the planet. The kid can use a photograph of the planet and put eyes and mouths on it. Instead of you listing 3 bullets about Mars, you say, hey, Mr. Mars, my name's Scott. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? And maybe in a goofy voice or whatever, maybe your partner now, because you're doing a collaborative project, comes in and says, no, I don't mind. What do you want to know? And next thing, you're doing a Q&A with the planet instead of just telling about it. When we look at Bloom's taxonomy or even Webb's depth of knowledge, those are much more higher level thinking skills when they apply that knowledge instead of just listing it. Right? So I love the body faces. You kind of go on and on. Any math manipulatives, we have a math teacher in the house. Any math manipulatives you ever want would be here. A never-ending supply from the blank clocks for telling time. That's a little bit more third-ish, third grade-ish type stuff, second grade. But your measurements, your 3D shapes for faces, edge, and vertices, money, the grids, you kind of name it, you got them all here. Right? And then the list kind of goes on and on from there. I did mention the space folder, a Native American, the people folder, babies to grandparents under family. As I wrap up my kind of review here of the stickers, and I love the space folder because under the solar system there are photographs of most of the planets, some images as well, or some stickers. but most are photographs. Super cool. So again, my mentality, back to that original comment, is have them use the existing images when possible, and then they can come back and enhance it when they're done with their content knowledge. Because a strong use of Wixie is its efficiency for differentiating by product. Lose the resource sheet from the curriculum guide. Keep the lesson objective that's already stated, but instead of doing the resource sheet, you do it in Wixie. Now, if the resource sheet takes 15 minutes during the lesson, you got to work in Wixie for just 15 minutes. Because you can't just change today's lesson and change it from 1 day to a 2 day. Because you do that too often, next thing you know, you're 4 weeks behind come assessment time, as far as the things that should have been covered by that point. So, it's a big deal to kind of look at this program efficiently instead of grandiose. We did not cover it, but there is a search down here. So if you're looking for something specific, you can do searches. It covers not only our clip art or sticker library, but there's also a website called Pix for Learning with 30,000 plus copyright-free images, most of which have been donated by teachers. It's called pixforlearning.com. We manage that, but all of those photos are within Wixie as well. So when you type in cat, for instance, not only will it show you the stickers first, but eventually we got a lot of cats. Eventually you start getting into the photos that have been donated as well. All right. Again, if you have any questions, chime in. I'm happy to answer. I'm going to bring in an animal really quick here. And I was just looking for a deer. Here we go. And a click and drag will work. You can double click on a sticker. It'll show up in the middle. And the green handles are really big. You redraw the green handles or resize the green handles with the corners. I see a Nate. Give me a second. You can rotate the top one. And this is delete one. If you're using the touchscreen, you can delete, or without the touchscreen, it'll delete there. But I want that back. Now, Nate asked if you can paint over images, was his question. And basically, as things are configured, you can't. There are 2 basic layers to Wixie. There's a layer in which you paint on, like all these leaves. I can't click and drag any of those leaves. You may recall I use the spray can tool. But if I bring up, I bring in a raccoon here. There's Ricky. Ricky is hovering in front of my tree. That looks very silly. So I'm going to go back to the paint tools. I'm going to kind of spray behind him so it looks like his head's sticking out. So I'm spraying. I can't paint on Ricky because he's not on the canvas. He's on that manipulation layer. Things that you can click and drag include stickers and text objects. However, a real big menu in this, again, web view, there's no file or edit up here in the upper left-hand corner. So in our web layout, this edit icon is huge. Now be sure if you want to do something to an object, you have to select it. Be sure the green handles are around it. Under the edit icon, in addition to for like centers and things like that, which can be nice, you see down here on the bottom it says glue to paint layer. So you're taking it off the manipulation layer, you're hooking it to the canvas, and I can no longer move him around. He's stuck on. I can return to the paint tool. I'm going to actually break him a little bit smaller. And I'm going to paint some leaves now behind Ricky like his head sticking out. There we go. And actually, Nate, the opposite of this, you can actually use the crop tool. And if you get really kind of fancy with what you do or whatever, you can convert to sticker. You can yank it off the canvas and convert it to a sticker. Something you can copy and paste on other pages if you want as well. So you can yank it in both directions, glue it or pull it off. Did talk about the text object. It's just a capital T tool. It shows up in the middle of the page, and it says double click here to add text, but just start typing. What I love about text objects is they function just like the stickers. You can click and drag them around. If you resize the object using the green handles, it'll resize the font for you. So yeah, that's about how big I want. So real easy guess and check. Now, because I select the stickers, my options are specific to stickers, even adding shadows and stuff, or flipping and rotating it. When I select the text object, my options are specific to the text object. You'll notice I can change the color, but also here's this bubble. Slide that over, boom. If your kids are into or you're promoting graphic novels, call out bubbles. I mean, think about it for not only interviewing characters, hey, you can, instead of recording your voices, which I'm going to show you next, you could easily do call-out bubbles. Hey, Mr. Volcano, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? No, what do you want to know? Type of deal. Again, like that planet. But also when it comes to, we got, again, the math teacher processes. Call-out bubble, do just a couple pictures of boys or a couple of girls. But, do you have any clue how to convert an improper fraction to a mixed number? Yeah, I know. I'll show you. And you can actually create a multi-page layout. And you can see, for instance, you can add pages. There are 2 of them going right now. And in the bottom left-hand corner, if you click the 4 icon box for thumbnails, you can see that you can see your multi-pages, even arrange them if you want to. Now, what's cool about this, too, and I'm going to add another page, is that was another text object. Undo, please. I'm going to add another page. The text objects can be lined up for columns and brochures quite easily. So if I bring in a text object and I want to do a newsletter, Colonial Times, Benjamin Franklin, or I'm going to do something related to the Tea Party, announcement, or whatever. Maybe I'm actually doing a writing extension of an ELA book. I remember like Tuck Everlasting or things like that. Maybe you're doing a editorial. But when you resize the box to fit the space, the font automatically changes to fill the size. And let's say this is, for instance, a postcard. Or maybe I'm doing a second page to the front that I made that picture. Maybe that was the biome, the amazing deciduous forest. So my deer and raccoon are part of the deciduous forest. And this is going to be the informative page on it. Making headers. I resize that box across the top. I go to the paint tools, choose a shape. I fill in the rectangle with the green, and I can make a box. And it's automatically going to go behind the text because the text is in the layer above it. So it's a neat way to do some nice looking print products. Now, what's super cool about our print products is you're not limited to just 8 by 10. Right? So hang on to your hats. The send menu is another big icon. The Wixie icon is big, the send and the edit icon. The send menu allows you to export projects out of Wixie. And there could be exports for images or PDFs, but the print products are also under here. Now, you have 6 different print products, and what I actually just made was a table tent. Page 1, automatically, don't draw lines on your page or anything else like a comic book. You don't want to divide it in half. You just make separate Wixie pages, and the program knows how to convert it to the printer for these layouts. So a table tent is page 1 on the top, page 2 on the bottom. But unlike Microsoft Word, when you fold it in half, they're kind of upside down when you flip it over like a postcard or something. Wixie will rotate the page 180 degrees, so when you fold it in half, they're facing the same way. They can even be put on your desk. I mean, if you have a good back-to-school night population, your kids can make messages for mom and dad and put on their desk. Hey, mom and dad, and then there's information on the back. Hey, this is my desk, or whatever you want. But in this case, the biome picture was the front, and the information about the biome was on the back. Can also do booklets. This is 4 per page. This is more the graphic novel type opportunities. It's a deal where you fold it. So if you do 7 pages, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 page on one, and the second piece of paper will have 5, 6, 7, etc., etc. And you can have 70 pages. I mean, go on and on. Nice class project opportunities here. If you're doing the math curse book, for instance, you guys do your own pages for math curse, and boom, here's a class book. Same thing can be true for, I was going to say vocabulary. That might be more trading cards, though. But anyways, when you do the booklet, it comes out of the printer and you fold it lengthwise and fold it again. So you have 4 quadrants, and you got page 1 in the front, and when you open it up, page 2 and 3 in the middle, and 4 in the back. Postcards is exactly the same as booklet, but it's 4 per page. No folding. Comic books is exactly like postcards, but it's 6 per page, not 4, and again, no folding. And then my favorite is trading cards. If the kids have a 1-page product, they can actually choose a repeat page, and it'll put print the same thing 9 times on a piece of paper, like 9 baseball cards. So I talked about vocabulary, for instance. I mean, your kids could do a vocabulary trading card, maybe even a pair. If you want the word and definition, maybe they're making a concentration game. And if they each do their 1 word, they can then trade to get from the rest of the team members or from the class, depending on the group size. This is great for, famous historical figures. If everyone does a different historical figure, you trade them, card them. So a kid might have to print 2 or 3 sheets out, depending on how many students are in his class or her class. And now you got a set, and I love it when they collect each other's cards. Now they got a set of cards, and you're really rocking and rolling when the kids can do something meaningful with those. So if they're famous people, could you sort the 18th century or 20th century or whatnot? Could you sort these cards into groups and then justify the sorting with a writing prompt? And this could be paper and pencil. Just why are these members in the group? What are the attributes that you use to sort them? And they have to do some type of open-ended justification. No wrong answer, as long as it's kind of a legit, meaningful response. I'm not a huge fan of printing. If you're I don't mean to point fingers, but this is super old school, and you got to change your thinking a little bit. Because you can see their work electronically, you're able to leave comments in it, which I'll come back to. When it comes to printing work just so you can write a grade on it, that's what I'm referring to. That's old school. You really got to pull yourself away from that. I would say printing for something special. Something, it doesn't have to be grandiose, but something you're particularly proud of, what your kids do. And again, it could be something as simple as things you want to put on their wall. I saw kids do About Me trading cards, like the first couple weeks of school. Then they trade them with their new classmates, especially if you have a transient population. So now they have cards of all their classmates, and the teacher not only let them print trading cards, but she then printed each trading card as a full page and put it on the wall like a quilt. So she had a classroom quilt because everyone's trading card was full size 8 by 10 or 8 by 11. So there's some neat options there, and that's a special example of when to print. So really limit the amount of printing. The students can print from theirs. You can also print their products from your login. All right, so I'm going to go back to this page, and I'm going to cover probably the most dynamic tool within Wixie, and that's this little red icon here. The user has the ability to add an audio recording to each page that can last up to 5 minutes in length. In this case, if I wanted them not to interview the deer, but to tell me, or actually they can interview the deer, but maybe tell me about the deciduous forest. Assuming your device has a microphone or is connected to an external mic, most of them are built in though, the students can add a recording. It's quite simple, although the first time you may have to allow it. So that you would click red to get it to go green, so you can go. Green means go. And you may see a allow microphone window pop up or something maybe with the firewall. So check your prompts. Typically you have to do it the first time, but not afterwards. You click the red, you wait till it turns green, and that means go. And again, you can see my 5-minute timer is just winding down here. When I'm done with it, I click the green, it stops it. I can preview my recording to hear what it says, and I can trash it if I want to, because I only get one per page. So my mentality of the Planet interview was just a matter of, let's come down and get people, me, close enough. Now up again. I can use the home and the folder with the green arrow to navigate here within the stickers. Space, not far enough down, there it is. Solar system, the moon was there as well. Mars. Mars looking pretty inanimate. Why would I talk to someone who's not animate? So I got to go back to cartoons for those face parts. I need some masculine eyes from Mars, obvious reasons. I'm a little type A, so I want the eyes to be the same, so I'm going to go to the edit, copy, edit, paste. You're really best off using the copy and paste instead of the shortcut keys in most browsers. And Mars does not get lips. Oh, it could have a mustache. That's fun. But let me go ahead and just throw in this here. So in this case, I see the students having a script, or at least kind of close to what they're going to say in how many pages. So they would come on, hey, Mr. Mars, my name's Scott. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? No, I don't mind. What do you want to know? What's wonderful about this is that instead of redrawing it, again, big menu here, edit, you can duplicate the page. So now, and it says 2 of 4, now there's 3 of 5. And if you're not sure, go back down to that story view in the bottom left-hand corner. Now I'm working 2 pages. All right? Ignore the rest right now, just the planet. On page 2, you'll notice it already has a recording, just like the previous page. Because when you duplicated it, the recording was duplicated with the project. So the first thing I would do on page 2 is to delete the recording and add, or delete it, yeah, and add a new one. And if I want to move them a little bit as we go, that's fine. You know, they're chatting. They're sociable. And again, higher level thinking skills. I also love point of views. I love like take that biome example. You know, pretend to be the animal in the biome. My name's Danny the deer, and welcome to the deciduous forest. Right? Same thing can be for, I think of any scene. You talk about character voice. You know, in stories. You know, and have that child pretend to be one of the characters and throw a scenario at them. How do you think the character react if the other one said this or the other one did this, or if this happened? And they have to be that person, and they do, in that case, right off the top of their head. I mean, that's the thing, is some of our scripts, a lot of this should be right off the top of their head. I've seen students use, or teachers have their students use the paint tool, go real small with the pencil, and do math problems. So maybe if they are converting the improper fraction to a mixed number, oops, so I go ahead, that's an extra there. And I do that work carefully. If I have a touchscreen, it's much easier, obviously. But they go through the work, and what you can do, even if it's a story problem, is have them explain their mathematical thinking and how they solve the problem with the recording. I'm sure your kids get overjoyed when they have to write. Please use the space below to explain the mathematical thinking you use to solve this problem. They're like, oh yeah, I get to write paragraphs here. I mean, you know you're lucky to get a sentence or two out of them, but you ask them to just go off the top of their head recording, and you get so much more. And because these files are saved automatically, if you work with special ed students, these are artifacts. I mean, if you work with special ed students that have a speech problem, think about just recording their voice if you give them or assign them a paragraph to read. So Timmy's reading it today. He stops, you record it. He goes for 1 minute maybe. Next month, he records it again. The month after that, he records it again. You have 3 artifacts of the child's voice that you can bring to a 504 and IEP meeting. And again, there's nothing like artifacts in the class, too. I said to some of the folks earlier, I worked with Baltimore County Public Schools, and I'm sure you guys don't have any demanding parents down there in D.C. I say with sarcasm because they also taught middle school. But, there's nothing quite like he doesn't do that at home. And then you have an artifact with that child's voice. If you want to really crank it to him, you can say, that is your child's voice, right? That is the problem I've been concerned about for 3 months, right? No, don't do that. That'd get you in trouble. However, the mentality of having that artifact is there. So let's take a moment. This is kind of one of those opportunities to see who's paying attention and on task as well. When it comes to the recording tool, and we're going to type in some chat comments here, and I'm going to bring over the chat screen onto the page. When you talk about using the record tool with your students, what type of projects could you envision them creating? I don't need a lesson plan. I can see kids interviewing planets. I can see kids retelling stories. Maybe it's a prediction. Something simple like that is what I'm looking for, an idea on how you could retell stories. So go ahead and type some in. Nate's already at it. I appreciate it. And I know someone said special ed too. I mean, if you're in 3rd grade, you could do a read aloud with the kids. They're all sitting around you on the carpet. You get to a point where that character is about to make a decision. You close the book and say, what do you think she's going to do? You got 10 minutes to draw a picture and to add an audio of your prediction using evidence from the first part to support it. So again, if everyone can type in an idea, a curriculum idea, that would be fantastic. That's a good one, Nate. And just in case it's too small for most people, Common Core standards have audio recordings of stories and poems for most grades. Anybody else? Because this is where Sekan says, I wonder if they just turned it on and walked away from their computer. So we know Nate is the good doobie. Nate, you're good to go whenever you want, buddy. No, don't leave. I'm joking. Yeah. All right. I'm going to take it that the rest of you aren't here to add a comment. Unless you're feeling like typing something in here pretty quick. I'm going to slide it over off the screen and continue Nate's one-on-one presentation here. Oh, boy. Shame. So, Nate, just a couple other follow-ups then that I want to talk about. In fact, first thing I want to do is share, and I got about 10 minutes left here. I want to share one of my favorite projects of all time, which is actually done by a 2nd grader. And the tech teacher had been working, and this is outside of Philly, a school district outside of Philadelphia. He had done dinosaur PowerPoints for a decade because they do dinosaurs in 2nd grade. And to me, I always thought the interview was more like intermediate 3, 4, 5. That's your sweet spot. And he said, you know what? I really can see. Deborah just came in with a big one. Deborah's idea. See, I'm going to stop my story. I can come back and visit. One that stands out is conducting a close reading prompt, and then have the students. And that's a short and sweet one when they're retelling the story and then answering a writing prompt through their picture. Yeah, I think that's, that isn't a whole class too. That can be done in 20 minutes as you set that up and their work. Thank you, Deborah. That's a great idea there as well. A good ELA one. Back to the 2nd graders. He had been doing the PowerPoints for years, and I said, well, again, why don't you just have him interview the dinosaurs? So he had the students create the page based on one of their dinosaurs. She did draw this from scratch. It looks sweet, and that's probably because we didn't have this type of dinosaur in our library. But again, they made a Q&A, and I absolutely love it. We're going to listen to a few pages of her. She uses her goofy voice or a deep voice to pretend to be the dinosaur. Let me crank up the volume here. There we go.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline, and I am interviewing a dinosaur. So, dinosaur, what is your name and what does it mean? My name is Columbus, and it means hollow form.
And again, she's just duplicating and then customizing a little bit with these drawings. But notice how she doesn't read.
So, Columbus, how big are you? I am exactly 50 pounds, 8 feet tall, 10 feet long.
Notice how she doesn't type all the words and then record herself reading them. Another bad action on my mind when it comes to integration. If they type it all, why do they have to record it? Unless you're worried about fluency or something like that. I like that she types just the keywords and elaborates in much more detail with the recording. That's what you need. If they wrote it, why record it? So do one or the other, but definitely not both. So I like that part. And she starts to reflect on this dinosaur's answers too. Like, wow, okay, sure, so you have sharp teeth and claws. No wonder you're okay, with your defense. So she starts to banter. And again, super sweetness when it comes to that in my mind. Now, the cool thing about this, and I'm going to move back to one of the other projects that I worked on with her, is that the second year he did the project with the dinosaurs, he actually assigned the students a blank 7-page template, each page for a different question that they had to ask the dinosaur. Now, why would you assign a blank page? Well, typically when teachers create directions on a page, they'll add a text box and they'll say, basically we talked about the idea that Deborah shared, read the passage below, then on the next page, draw a scene and retell the story, so on and so forth, whatever you want. And what they do is they write the directions across the top. They end up taking up the student's workspace. What's really cool is check out all this acreage down here in the bottom right-hand corner when nothing is selected, when you got something that's not there. We can add instructions from the edit icon. The students can't, but you can. Under instructions, you get this big window that pops up that you get to type your own directions. You can record yourself reading them. This is also great for ESOL students, too. You can record yourself giving these directions or more. Again, you don't have to read everything word for word. And you do your recording just like before. And when you press OK, those directions and the recording show up in the bottom. And each page can have a different instruction. This can also include a hyperlink. So if you want to do a graphic organizer here where they gather information on a famous person, and then they start the interview on page 2, you can do that as well. So they never lose their notes because they're part of Wixie. Right? So you can also have hyperlinks in here. And again, what that teacher did, those 7 pages, each one had its own question. Ask the dinosaur how big it is. Ask it, what it eats and stuff like that. And the only thing I'm going to show you under this one is that Wixie will convert to both Spanish and French from the Wixie icons where you rename project and stuff like that too. But if I go to the Spanish one, again, all the stickers, all the titles are in Spanish. All of the stickers are now in Spanish. It does not convert any words to Spanish, though. That's not the program. But what it allows is a student that's very new to English the opportunity to share what they know about, again, volcanoes or about retelling stories or about, whatever you want to be a math concept. So that ability, now they're working their native language is what it comes down to. I'm going to come back and choose US English. I'm ready to slide out of this into the teacher side to do a review of how to assign templates to your students, as well as how to see their work. So I'm going to go now from my account and choose Home. Logging off would log you out of your account, so you want to choose Home, and that's under the Wixie hand. And again, the teacher ecosystem that I showed at the beginning is the Home section. And I want to start off with activities. Anything that you create is something you can assign. So here's my projects. On the left-hand side, I come down. Eventually, I'm going to find the Untitled Masterpiece, Untitled, right there it is, that I was just working on. Now I can click this project, or if I want to use one of our existing templates, there's over 2,000 pre-made templates under the curriculum library. So if I look at ELA, for example, these are all kind of lined up by the Common Core. So if I go to ELA, I can go to Reading, and then under Reading, I have Alphabetic Principle, Comprehension, and Literature. Obviously, depending on the skills levels, the Alphabetic Principle may be for younger students or those who have an IEP or whatnot. But I see book covers, redesign, and maybe justify why yours is better. Plot diagram, main idea umbrella, parts of a story. They kind of go on and on. Right? But these, in many cases, are broad in that we don't necessarily know what literature you're using with. Here's beginning and ending of a story, for instance. We don't know what book you're using. So I clicked on the small icon, just as a point of reference, to get the larger view. Oops, it already came back. Oh, I should have used the back arrow to prevent that. I'll remember next time. Reading, comprehension, beginning and middle. So when I click on it, I get the large view. You can assign this project straight to your students as is. You can use this word, or under action is where everything is. So if I like this as is, I don't want to customize it, I can assign it straight from the curriculum library to students. So under the word actions, you click assign this project. And it says, oh yeah, who wants it? So you can say, I want all students to get it. Or I want just these 4 to get it. And you see the blank template's going to show up for a month. And maybe for the special area teacher and see them once a week, I can see that. But if I see them every day, I don't want this for a month. And I don't even want it tomorrow or today. I want it to start next week. So we're going to actually start it on February 5th. And it's only going to be there for 3 days. Again, if the student's absent, except that says March, not February. If the student is absent, I can simply go ahead and assign just to them after the project. The moment you press save is the moment that file is available for students. It does not require like overnight to complete. So again, the beautiful thing is that if you're having one of those mornings, and I know we all have, just tell the kids to relax just for a moment while you assign their template, and it can pop up pretty quick. Now, the other part of this, as I cancel out of that, is that if you want to customize one of our templates, you can't modify our template, but you can customize it. And by that, I mean, and I'm going to click on it, it says, okay, you can't mess up ours, but we'll give you your own copy, and we just put it in my project. If you click edit, it's going to open up in Wixie for you to start making changes straight away. If you press OK, because you're just looking at resources, it has now been placed under my projects. And there it is, beginning, middle, and end right here. And again, if I want to open it up, I can go ahead under Actions, come down to Edit Project, and it's going to open up Wixie for me automatically and open up this project. And again, I may add specific directions involving what we're reading. I may change this over here, and this is actually beginning, middle, and end. And then when I go to assign it from students, I'm going to go back to home, I would not assign the one from curriculum library. I would assign the one I customize under my projects. It is a really simple process. There's no maximum number of assigned projects that the students can receive at any time. But know that it's not necessarily just your assigned projects. The students will also see projects done by the media specialist, by maybe a special educator or another one. So they may have other assignments in addition to yours in that section, which is also why I don't like to keep the date range too long. Because I think if there's 10 or 12 or 15 templates there to look through, and 8 of them are no longer applicable, you really got to keep that lean and mean so that the kids can just quickly get to their template and start work. And that's, again, one of the big efficiencies. You'll notice you probably don't have, but you will have a school folder. You guys can share templates with each other. So I'm a 4th grade teacher, and we don't block for subject areas. So I teach all subject areas. I could easily create a math template and then share it with my colleagues, and hopefully they're hooking me up with like an ELA template that I can then use as well. So you have the ability to share within your building, and there will be a district folder as well. Central office folks have the ability to share across the district. Maybe some people start sharing some great templates, and Sakan and her buddies post them up so that other folks can benefit from them. So know that resources will begin to show up there over time, whether they're applicable this year or the next time you come around to the curriculum. Again, it varies on how they're shared. As we hit the home stretch, I want to click on the Student tab to show you how to see students' work and how to protect their work so they don't mess it up on their own. I've clicked Students. It goes straight to my class. Now, I know we have an LMS in the group. You would obviously be able to use a pull-down menu to check any class that you teach. And if you're a 5th grade teacher and teach math only and you teach 4 classes a day or 5, you would see those 4 separate classes. As you click on the students, you'll see that their projects are showing up as thumbnails over here. Ben's been busy. Elsa, Michelle. So here's Michelle. And actually, I'll tell you what. Let's go back to Alejandra. I'm going to click on her project. And when I click on her thumbnail, I get a larger view of it. This is static. I can't make any change to it. If there's multiple pages, there'd be a play button. If there's audio, we would hear that recording of the child. Now, some folks see projects and you're allowed to leave a comment. You type in a comment. We're talking like 500 characters. You press post, and here's one comment, for instance, I'm going to type to one point. This comment actually shows up on the bottom of the student's Wixie project. So when the student hovers over it, or their parents, it pops up in the middle of the page. Now, here's the deal, though. Your kids can use Wixie at home for fun. There's tons of memory. They'll never use it up. So as long as they're productive, they can do whatever they want. I mean, there's even ways. I have directions on how parents can share students' Wixie projects with like friends and family. So your kids could draw a birthday cake, record themselves singing Happy Birthday Grandma, and their mom or dad could send the link with a security code to Grandma to watch and to listen to that child sing. Talk about how cool is that? So the kids are going to do tons of stuff at home. What if they logged on to today's work and messed it all up? Right? If you see a project and you grade it, you want to mark it as complete. just a checkbox. The moment the project is marked complete, it goes static and can't be changed by you or the students. If you change your mind later, you can uncheck it. But this is a way so that, especially if you want to use it for like a 504 or an IP meeting, you just check that off and you know you'll be able to show it, or parent conference, of course, be able to show it as you last saw it when that time comes. Believe it or not, this is where the printing menu is as well. So when I click the print icon in the upper right-hand corner, you can see I have those 6 layout choices again. I can print for them if they don't have the rights or if it's just easier. Now, I have not gone into assessments, but just so you know, if you assign assessment to a template, which is basically a rubric, you can use your rubrics. And in this case, I created 4 criteria. I had to redesign Charlotte's Web and then justify why it's better than the original cover, not counting artistic ability. And this was just me making something, so a student really didn't do this. And there's no recording, ironically enough. But I weighted content as very heavy. It was worth like 40 points. Design and layout was worth like 12 or 16. And behavior was worth like 4. And the reason it's increments of 4 is because there's 4 categories. And you can go from a 5 criteria point to down to 2, like a yes, no almost. But check this out right now. A sad 58%. But as you click in the different boxes, that percent changes. And again, based on the weighting of each field, yeah, that's a 98 right there. They can do starting to get it, but if that content's strong, they got 85%. So everything about making assessments and as far as directions are under training, but if you really want to get into that, it's sometimes nice to have the kids, they can see the assessment while they're working on their project, and then you can use it as a simple grade calculator. And again, I can move back, choose another student. If it was the same project in each child's folder, I can move down and choose the next child. But this was just a 1 sample. But if I had a Charlotte's book cover for all of them, when I click on Ben, I would see Charlotte's book cover. But in this case, I don't, so it just opens up something else. Okay. The last section I want to talk about is projects, and this is where you would share projects with one another. This allows you to make folders, even in your own stuff, so you can organize your own folders or your own files. But basically, when you're looking to move something, you can't click the word. We're working in a web browser. If you try to click and drag a word, it won't work. Instead, you want to hover and click over the icon and then drop it into a folder, and it'll show up there. So maybe with my school folder, I put a grade level for each school, like if I'm the tech liaison. If I want this animal research to go into 3rd grade or 1st grade or whatever, I click and drag it, let it go into 3rd grade. And again, it's just a copy of my work right now. It will never change. Even my original won't change. We just copy it over. But now my colleagues can go to activities, Mason Elementary School, 3rd grade, and I've done it once before, use the animal project and assign it to their students as is or customize. I'm going to show you a couple final resources. My 10 minutes turned into 15, which is okay. I get excited about this stuff. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to leave my account open, but I can open up something different when I'm in a different browser. So there's IE. I was in Chrome. IE. In fact, the only thing you need to know when it comes to accessing Wixie, if you have an iPad like at home or whatnot, you can't get Wixie off Safari on the iPads. You need to download the free Wixie app for the iPads, and they log in just the same. It looks identical, but there's a little bit of flash, and this time it works fine on Chromebooks, but there's a little bit of flash on the iPads. That's why you have to do it in Wixie app, not Safari. But anyways, I've gone to techforlearning.com, which is our website. But if you want to just go to wixie.com, there's student samples and some neat teacher resources here. So I type in wixie.com, creative platform, powerful teaching tools, curriculum guide goals. There's even some Common Core things. But in this case, I'm going to click on teacher resources. The integration guides are the first thing, and you will find guides using the Common Core, which is here it is. For grades 3, 4, and 5, there's going to be 12 math ideas and 12 language arts ideas, and how Wixie, they give you like a multi-paragraph lesson outline on how Wixie can be used to support that specific indicator, to assess the student's knowledge of that specific standard. And each activity is for a different subtopic within it. So it's not all number ops. They have the measurement and data analysis and what, just like it's not all reading in the language arts side. It covers each section of the Common Core for ELA and for math for grades 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to back up a layer. Lesson plan ideas. Our library of materials is also here in addition to our website. We got some great overview videos. I even have ones that I've done. And then we have classroom ideas, a lot of postings, but we have a ton of student samples down here. And when I go into the elementary grades, these are great to show kids. You know, I'm not as good as you guys are, but look at what other kids did. Some videos, I love creating your own creature. That's a pretty awesome one. Own original story. This one, The Adventures of Harriet the Hair Tie, which is also sweet. And eventually, when I come down, we're going to see the dinosaur interview, which is sweetness as well. Okay. So that was Wixie.com, and then I selected the teacher resources link at the top. So that's me wrapping up. I'm going to go ahead and pull my email address up. But are there any questions that anyone has? Would that Nate or Deborah have? Sakan, you're welcome to have a question too. I'm so sorry. I didn't include you in that. I got my email address. Here it is. Nate, you cannot upload audio. You can do under the storyboard view in the bottom left-hand corner. Actually, you can upload audio. There is the ability to do like a background sound if you want to do like a presentation. But here, and again, the 4 icon in the bottom left, the storyboard view gives you this option here. You can go ahead and grab a file. However, it's going to run. Will it run into all pages? Like, I think you're really going to have to modify your duration to match the audio. So you're going to have to explore that because I think it may show up multiple pages, by the way. Like if it's a 45-second recording, that recording could go over all 4 pages, is what I'm going to say with that. Right. But back to my email address, my phone number. I do a lot of Twitter postings, especially what other people are doing, but I highlight some of the better resources that have been posted from the company as well when we share resources. And Nate, there we go. Nate's typing in his answer to Sakan. If you want some of my samples, if you actually want the Wixie of the dinosaur interview, you can have that file, so you can just have it in your account, as well as any other template I shared. I do still live in Baltimore County, where I taught for 14 years, so if you ever have any needs, just let me know. I'm your local guy. I'm happy to help. Shauna, jumping in here. My only question. You are right, Shauna. Hopefully you emailed Sakan. I know she provided her email at the first of the chat. She's definitely the person to talk to about it. I don't work with the school district, so you're right. I don't have understanding of that, of providing you with the Clever account, but Sakan will definitely get you in the right direction. She's the one to contact. And you can see she says, email me and I'll take care of it. Now I'm about to start the recording. Unless there's anything else, you're welcome, Shauna. And